Happening now at 6, dead on arrival, why the just unveiled Senate health bill to replace Obamacare won't pass as written. Plus,
I'm Rowan Logan, and after a string of break-ins, this storage unit's lot used to matter, but now it's pointless. But Denton police say they need your help. I'll have more next.
and consumer alert, don't get scammed by phony home security companies. Coming up, what to do if they come knocking on your door.
You're watching Spectrum News on ABC 45.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on Spectrum News at 6. I'm Rob Wu. We begin with Cindy making landfall as a tropical storm last night in Louisiana, flooding areas of the Gulf Coast. People living in Alabama and Mississippi woke up to flooded streets and homes. Cindy now a tropical depression weakening as it moves inland. Let's bring in meteorologist Doug Lindsay with a first check of the weather. So Doug, by the time Cindy gets to us, will it have much to offer?
Well, the good news is probably not. We have been concerned about that for the past couple of days, that tropical moisture was going to be a problem for us, but it's looking more and more like we're going to miss out on a lot of it. There's some moisture in place now. That's why we're so cloudy. We've had a few passing showers, very muggy, the humidity 84%, but only 77 degrees, and a few more passing showers coming in from the west. There's what's left of Cindy moving across Louisiana. The track of this remnant low over the next couple of days will take it north of us, so we do have enough moisture to get us into a couple of summer-like afternoon storms, probably Friday and Saturday. It's going to get steamier too, but believe it or not, by Sunday, we're going to start a drying out process. Won't that be nice? All the details coming up in your full forecast a little later on.
Sounds good, Doug. Thanks. And we go on with the Senate health care plan to replace Obamacare. Just hours after a draft was unveiled, 4 GOP senators came out against it. That's enough to kill the bill. So safe to say it won't pass as written. Changes forthcoming. Scott McLean has more from Washington.
But I hope we're going to surprise you with a really good plan.
After weeks behind closed doors, Republicans finally released their health care bill. Surprising for some.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you
Good
very
plan.
much.
That's up for debate.
We're putting in a plan today that's going to be negotiated.
The closely guarded draft was released just a week before Republicans hoped to pass it.
It's time to act, because Obamacare is a direct attack on the middle class.
The bill would phase out Medicaid expansion starting in 2021, a year later than the House bill. It would repeal the individual mandate to actually buy health insurance, repeal Obamacare taxes on the wealthy, and defund Planned Parenthood for 1 year. Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes, since no Democrats are expected to support the bill.
The Senate Republican health care bill is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
The bill does not include the controversial House proposal that would allow some states to decide on protections for people with pre-existing conditions. But it does allow for a new set of waivers that could eliminate essential health benefits. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is trying to get both moderates and conservatives on board with a very ambitious timeline. But it won't be easy, even with some Republicans.
I can't imagine, quite honestly, that I'd have the information to evaluate and justify a yes vote within just a week.
Several senators are already promising to oppose the bill in its current form.
We also need to negotiate over what's good, what's bad, and what we can get in the bill to make it better.
In Washington, I'm Scott McLean.
Senator Tom Tillis taking a wait and read approach about the bill. Here's part of his statement, quotes, "Any replacement plan must be a net improvement over Obamacare, and I look forward to carefully reviewing the draft legislation over the next several days." In a tweet today, President Donald Trump cleared up a rumor that he started, ending any speculation that he may have recorded his conversations with fired FBI Director James Comey. The president said he didn't make any recordings. 5 weeks ago, he floated the idea that he may have taped their talks. Republicans won yet another special congressional election this week as Republican Karen Handel defeated Democrat Jon Ossoff by nearly 4% of the vote in Georgia. Republicans are now undefeated in this year's 4 special congressional elections held across the country, and that has some Democrats wondering where they've gone wrong and what this year's results could indicate for next year's midterm elections.
For Republicans, they may be too joyous about this, and Democrats may be too upset by this. These were in conservative places. It was close, so the Democrats can find some sort of solace in the fact that they did better than would be expected, even though they didn't win.
Republicans also won special elections in Kansas, Montana, South Carolina. California's special election featured 2 Democrats, no Republicans. 2 more special congressional elections will be held this year. Those are in Utah and Alabama. Will he or won't he sign it? The $23 billion state budget heading to Governor Roy Cooper's desk after getting through the legislature. As he decides, the rhetoric from both sides of the aisle over how to spend your tax dollars rages on. Here's our senior political reporter, Wxlv Abc.
It took several weeks of negotiation and then just a few days of floor debate, but state lawmakers have now signed off on a compromised 2-year state spending plan. That budget now goes to the governor to sign, veto, or let become law without his signature.
The fact of the matter is, what they are saying is a dishonest gimmick.
As of Thursday morning, the governor was still showing no love for the bill, which he says doesn't do enough for the people of the state. Republican leaders are asking for him to sign the proposal.
You see, Governor Cooper claims this bipartisan budget that mirrors his priorities while spending around 2% less than his own budget is, quote, the most fiscally irresponsible budget he's ever seen. I think the governor should spare us the melodrama and save the theatrics for his campaign commercials.
As the complaints are flying back and forth, Governor Cooper points to deep cuts made in the Attorney General's office as questionable.
One of the main jobs of the Attorney General's office is to prosecute criminal cases on appeal. One of the things his office works to do is to keep violent criminals in jail. There will be attorneys that will have to be laid off with this budget.
Republican leaders say they believe with the Attorney General's responsibilities, they have funded him fully, but do say political decisions from the Democratic AG have been noticed.
There have been instances where the Attorney General seems to believe that that's not his job, that his job is to do whatever he thinks is appropriate.
It will now be up to the governor to decide what he thinks is appropriate to do with this budget bill. Wxlv Abc, Spectrum News.
Back local, this is one of the men police believe was involved in a shooting in High Point last night. Police are also looking for Gregory Baskin, or they were looking for Gregory Baskins Jr. He's been charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Police say he was among a group of people who got into a fight near Evans Street and Commerce Avenue that led to multiple people firing weapons. One man went to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police have not said whether they're looking for more people. If you have a storage unit in Denton, police recommend you check it out to see if anything's missing. Our Spectrum News reporter Wxlv Abc has a look at a string of break-ins.
Locked but not secure.
This is how I got in the door.
Dylan Smith's storage unit is one several hits in a string of break-ins.
I'm pretty mad about it. We're still counting our stuff right now. We got all of it out. We're missing maybe a table or 2.
Denton police say they arrested 2 people.
Confronted both subjects, asked for one of them's ID. He handed the ID. They were going to detain them for further investigation, and at that point, one of the male subjects took off running on foot.
Authorities caught the one who ran in Oak Island. Now the police department has an evidence closet filled.
A couple of floodlights, an art set.
Investigators ask that people who keep their items at the 4 storage units in town to check whether their units have been broken into so they can figure out how much the burglars took.
We estimate the charges of all the property for our suspect, to be over $1,000. It would be a felony charge on that suspect.
Smith tells me customers are now clearing out.
This one's been empty. This one's getting moving. This one was full, but when I got the call, 2 days later, the guy moved out already.
And he'll be right behind them.
Denton is little. They have 4 officers. They do a great job. I just think there needs to be more cameras, more security.
Leaving behind only the broken lock.
I probably won't never rent a storage building again in my life.
In Denton, Wxlv Abc, Spectrum News.
DWI is just one of the charges 24-year-old Nikki Montgomery faces after she flipped and crashed into trees. 7 people were inside the car, including 3 children that had to be taken to the hospital. A 7-year-old was airlifted to Brenner Children's Hospital with serious injuries after being ejected. Highway Patrol says around 9:30 last night, Montgomery lost control of her SUV on Highway 770 in Stoneville. Her next court appearance is set for August 3rd. Be on the lookout for a security system scam. That sign in your yard that may keep robbers away could also attract people who are trying to rip you off. Our Katie husband spoke to a local company sounding the alarm about the con artists who may come knocking on your door.
A Triad alarm company is warning homeowners of a shady practice.
If they're trying to sign the alarm customer up for monitoring with their service, but instead of just being honest about it, they tell the customer that they've come there to give them a free upgrade.
Piedmont Protective Services mailed out this letter to customers. Wren says salesmen go door to door, and if you let them into your home, they'll try to rip out existing security equipment and make you sign another contract with them.
Is to only sign that customer up for a new alarm monitoring contract with another company.
Sneakily selling you service that often comes with much higher rates.
An industry spokesperson told us that an alarm salesperson, they can make up to $1,500 per sale. So think about it, all they need is one sale a day and they can make $45,000 for the whole month. So they're good salespeople, they know what they're doing.
According to North Carolina state law, if you are engaged in an alarm security business, whether you're the company, the seller, or the installer, you have to be licensed. So if you're a neighbor, say in this kind of neighborhood, and you get a knock on your door by a seller, there are some questions you should ask him or her.
Get the contractor's name, their license number, the state that they're licensed in, the information about the business, and then call the state licensing board.
If you worry you've made a mistake, reach for that contract you just signed.
You do have the 3-day right to cancel. So if you listen to the sales pitch and decide, you know what, I do want to take advantage of this, then you do have 3 days to cancel if you find out that the salesperson was unscrupulous and sold you something that you didn't really need.
Legal protections for you as you figure out the best way to protect your home. In Greensboro, Katie Husband, Spectrum News.
If someone knocks on your door trying to sell you a security system, a safe bet is to take their information and call the state's Alarm Systems Licensing Board to make sure they're legit. A new study shows that the arts is an economic driver generating more than $160 million for Guilford County. That happened in 2015, those revenues coming from theaters, concerts, and other events. Industry leaders say the area's thriving scene and quality of life attracts businesses.
This is a huge, powerful engine that has become something that the community can really point to for the future of this community in terms of drawing, again, those young professionals, those people we need to make this a thriving, growing, prosperous community.
The study also found in 2015 the arts culture created almost 6,000 jobs in Guilford County. Operation Coming Home, raising the roof once again. The organization builds and donates homes for wounded combat veterans who served in the Middle East. Its first home was dedicated today in memory of fallen soldier Sergeant Justin B. Onworthy in Knightdale. Onworthy's family says it's surreal that the home is coming together, and they're forever grateful for the support.
I mean, I feel greatly appreciative of everyone's effort, people being here to support us and support veterans, other people like me.
The community wrote encouraging messages on the home's frames as a lasting tribute to Onworthy's memory. All right, coming up after the break, tourism on the rise in one of the Triad's most rural communities. What's bringing people and millions of dollars to Stokes County? Good evening, I'm Rob Wu. Here's what's happening this Friday evening. An inmate who assaulted a guard in a brazen escape surrenders. We're live in Davidson County. Plus,
several businesses in downtown Mount Airy targeted by what some are calling a real-life Ernest T. Bass. I'm Spectrum News reporter Julie Frendak, and I'll have the details coming up.
and laid to rest, the final goodbye as fallen soldier Sergeant Dylan Baldridge is remembered. Spectrum News at 6 starts right now.
You're watching Spectrum News on ABC 45.
And welcome to the end of the work week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob Wu. Let's start things off by getting you ready for your Friday night out if you've got plans. A first check of the weather now with meteorologist Casey Sherman. Casey, how's it looking out there?
Well, it's looking warm out there, but certainly on the windy side. We hit a high of 88 degrees here in Greensboro during the daytime hours. 87 only cooled it down about 1 degree, but those winds still holding steady out of the south and west. If you're making plans for tonight, we should be dry, but certainly keeping with those stronger winds. We are going to be looking for around showers pushing through mainly after midnight, so evening plans good to go. If you're still out and about in the wee hours, that's when you could be hit by a spot shower or two. Other than that, though, not too bad. Waking up to another muggy start for your Saturday. Lows cooling down into the 70s with another warm day on tap for tomorrow.
Casey, thanks. And happening now, an escaped inmate who's been on the run for almost a week turned himself in at the Davidson County Jail. Our Spectrum News reporter Rilwan Balogan is live from the Davidson County Sheriff's Office. Rilwan, what do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just like you mentioned, Rob, just moments ago, Benjamin Small turned himself in here to the Davidson County Sheriff's Office with his hand in handcuffs and his legs shackled, being escorted by Sheriff Grice. Now, this all happened after he's been on run for days. Now, we have that video of him surrendering right here. Now, Sheriff Grice says Small probably got as far as Oklahoma. Now, they're not absolutely sure where he got a car, but they do think it may be linked to a reported stolen car earlier this week. Now, Sheriff Grice says Small's mother met with Benjamin at some point today and decided it was time for him to turn himself in. Now, remember, this all happened because Small escaped from the detention center Saturday. The department now is reviewing those safety measures there.
We've revamped the back gate. That happened on Thursday, and we've reviewed our security procedures inside, and we're in the process of putting a new jail camera in, but we really didn't find anything really lacking, but we've tweaked and encouraged people to remember the procedures and so forth.
Now, on top of those, now he faces 3 additional charges on top of 9 he had before escaping. Those new charges are now assault, escaping, and robbery. He's being processed now to see how much a bond, if at all, will be set. But now the next time we will see Small will be for a first appearance at court Monday. Reporting live in Lexington, Rilwan Balogan, Spectrum News on ABC 45.
Rilwan, thanks. Business owners in Mount Airy, meanwhile, breathing a sigh of relief. Police arrest a man after a string of break-ins at businesses across the city. Our Julie Frendak spoke to some victims, comforted by the news.
A dance studio, bakery, nail salon, and boutique. The targets in a string of break-ins in Mount Airy.
I was really scared, and I was mad. I was like, why do they do this?
Someone vandalized Pace Delicious twice. The culprit threw a rock through the door last Friday night and came back Sunday night for a second round.
They broke the whole door. They tried to break the big window with the chair, but the chair bent, so they couldn't break it.
Danceworks Studio, 2 doors down from the bakery, also found its property vandalized.
I don't understand why. I mean, it just seems like they just vandalized just to be vandalizing. They didn't take anything or do anything else. It's just tearing things up around here.
As the owner of the building, Bender paid to replace all 3 doors.
It's around $1,000, which, you know, small business owners, yeah, that's a lot of money.
The other targets were Essence Nails and Spa, Sarah's Beauty Boutique, and Henson's Auto Parts. Mount Airy police have arrested 26-year-old Nicholas Cody Hull in connection with the crimes at all 5 locations. He's charged with 6 counts of felony breaking and entering, 1 attempted felony breaking and entering, and 7 counts of misdemeanor damage to property.
I mean, it's a pretty little town, but I mean, you never think people will act like that.
Romero says she'll be watching her new security cameras closely, hoping this is the first and last time criminals take aim at her business. In Mount Airy, Julie Frendak, Spectrum News.
Hull is in the Surrey County Detention Center under a $20,000 bond. He's set to appear in court in July. A scam alert in Fayetteville reports of someone collecting donations in the name of the Bicycle Man charity. Ann Mathis and her late husband Moses Mathis have provided Christmas bikes to children for 27 years, but this person has nothing to do with it. Ann Mathis says her group does not go door to door. She's been told someone's been going around selling raffle tickets.
It's just ridiculous. It's just outrageous, and I
I don't know what to say because I don't think it's right. It takes away from the kids.
Police asking for your help in finding out who's behind the scam. Meanwhile, Mathis and some volunteers are busy getting ready for this year's giveaway. The annual event is scheduled for December 16th. A somber day in the high country as a North Carolina soldier killed in Afghanistan was laid to rest. Our Spectrum News reporter Eugene Cho was there and shows us how friends and family are remembering Sergeant Dylan Baldridge.
Amazing grace,
a farewell,
how sweet the sound.
Fit for a hero.
The sacrifice he made, he's a hero.
His family told us Sergeant Dylan Baldridge died doing what he loved.
It was his dream to be a soldier. He was very good at it.
Sergeant Baldridge died in Afghanistan, killed in action, his first tour of duty overseas.
I want to thank my brother for his sacrifice. It's tough.
The oldest son in the family.
Sister Isabel will turn 14 tomorrow.
Fondly remembered for his smile, kindness, and his heart full of love.
I tried to remember a time when he was not smiling or when he got in trouble for something, and I can't think of a single time. He was a good boy.
Friday, veterans young and old lined the streets with American flags.
It's been a great honor to do this for the family. We're here to honor the family, and we also protect the family during this whole trial and tribulations that they're going through.
Giving this young hero
I am an American soldier.
the honor and gratitude he deserves.
So proud. Just so very proud of him.
That was our Eugene Cho reporting. Harris Teeter employees and customers in North Carolina raised about $1 million to support our troops. The big check was presented to the USO of North Carolina today. The USO says it is the duty of Americans to ensure the sacrifices of those that protect our country are remembered.
To allow us to provide critical human services that address suicide, PTSD, financial issues, reading and study skills, on top of the homecomings, all our deployments, all the things that we do around the state at 10 locations. This is a significant gift to this organization.
A joy.
The USO helps to keep soldiers connected with their loved ones at home. Their programs serve more than 500,000 people each year. State Auditor Beth Woods standing by the findings of a report that called into question the quality of North Carolina milk. Her audit found inspectors went too easy on dairy farmers, rarely doling out punishment for repeated violations. Woods says 2 of the last 3 audits were actually prompted by calls her department got from the state agriculture employees.
We're saying the process was too lenient, and could this lead to issues with our milk in the future? It could.
State Agriculture Commissioner Steve Troxler punching back. Part of a statement here, quote, "I am not unclear about this issue and am confident in the grade A milk supply in North Carolina and the processes in place to ensure its safety. I can only say with regards to the cooperation of the department, there seems to be a disconnect between the auditor and her staff based on the feedback we got during this auditing process." Now to the state budget. The $23 billion bill is on the governor's desk, waiting Roy Cooper's signature. It's unclear, though, what he'll do, having already called it the most fiscally irresponsible budget he's ever seen. Republican leaders daring him to sign it.
You see, Governor Cooper claims this bipartisan budget that mirrors his priorities while spending around 2% less than his own budget is, quote, the most fiscally irresponsible budget he's ever seen. I think the governor should spare us the melodrama.
That Republican legislative leaders are trying to present this plan as one that is good for teachers and one that is equivalent to the teacher plan that I proposed in my budget. Fact of the matter is, what they are saying is a dishonest gimmick.
Either way, the spending plan will pass because there are enough Republican votes in both chambers to override a potential veto. Senate Bill 600, also known as Brittany's Law, is also on the governor's desk. It's named after 22-year-old Brittany Puryear, who was killed in 2014 by her live-in boyfriend, Logan McLean, in their home. The law would allow prior domestic violence convictions to be admissible in court, which means harsher punishments. Brittany's father hopes it will eventually go further to include all past instances of domestic violence, not just convictions.
If we had the past pattern, we would have had police reports from being called out to domestic violence situations. We would have had CPS reports. We would have had eyewitnesses to strangulation while pregnant, throwing down the stairs.
McLean is now serving a 32-year sentence for second-degree murder. If past patterns of abuse had been admissible, he could have faced life in prison or the death penalty. To the latest on the Senate Republican health care bill just unveiled yesterday, it's already on life support. Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes, but already 5 GOP senators have said they won't vote for it. Scott McLean has a look at where things go from here.
Republicans believe we have a responsibility to act, and we are.
The Republican health care bill was built behind closed doors, but now it's being cut down in plain sight. At least 5 GOP senators say they won't vote for it in its current form, but are open to negotiating.
This current draft doesn't get the job done.
It keeps the pre-existing condition, keeps the regulations, and then subsidizes the death spiral. That's my real complaint. We are not fixing Obamacare.
President Trump, a self-described deal maker, doesn't seem concerned.
I think that they'll probably get there.
But those senators are not the only obstacles. Several others are sitting on the fence.
Put me down as a solid undecided.
I cannot support a bill that is going to result in tens of millions of people losing their health insurance.
And the clock is ticking. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wants a vote before the 4th of July recess, just after it gets a score or cost and impact assessment from the Congressional Budget Office. Previous scores of the House version have predicted $119 billion in cost savings compared to Obamacare, but also 23 million fewer people with coverage in the next decade. Like Obamacare, this bill has no bipartisan support, although some Republicans say they're open to negotiation.
2 Democrats walking Mitch McConnell's door right now. They bargained.
If no Democrats get on board, Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes to get the bill passed. In Washington, I'm Scott McLean.
July 4th is almost here. The good news if you're hitting the road for the holidays.